Your Revolution show, a show for men and the people who love them, where we discuss how men can find and embrace the revolution within themselves, where people can find and embrace the revolution within themselves. I am your host, Dr. Charles Corprew. What's good, revolutionaries? I hope all is well. And at the recording of this show, as you know, that I am trying to hold on to summer and to revel in the sunshine that it brings to the warmth of other suns, which is a wonderful book of understanding how being in community, out in the nature of life and being with folks and allowing summer to actually revive you. You know, spring is often that time of revival, but summer is that time to live, to really live. And I have been enjoying that with my people. So I am hoping that you are doing that. One of the things that I did this summer was actually go, as I've been talking about so much, was go and spend time with people in a segment of my community. Those people who podcast, those people who sit in front of the mic, in front of the camera, and actually begin to interview folks and tell stories across a wide spectrum of genre and beliefs and ideas and ideologies. And often when you get the chance to sit in the community, you meet luminaries. And that's been my word this year, revolutionaries, luminaries. People who are at the breaking point, the stalwarts, the people that are out there really putting themselves at the forefront of what they're doing. And people are noticing and they say, wow, you're the person that I want to interview. You're the person that I want to sit with. And my guest today it's an ordinary show because we have a luminary on the show. I want to introduce Michael Unbroken to the What's Your Revolution show. This brother is an award-winning author. His book, Think Unbroken, podcaster, world-renowned speaker. I want to say hello to you. How are you?
Dude, I'm excited, man. You probably heard this before, but you have a voice for this. Like, I was like, dang, dude, I wish my voice sounded like that. I'm good, brother. I'm good. I'm excited to be here with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It is interesting because I want my folks to know who you are, because I think that is encapsulated into this conversation that we're going to have today. And so who is, and I understand, I want to say Michael Anthony, but Michael Unbroken. Tell that story, because I want to know, and because I don't know if I've heard this question asked to you in my research, is how did you go from Michael Anthony to Michael Unbroken? And I think you can encapsulate that story that is yours in that answer.
Sure. That's a good question. It's made up. I mean, like anything, like, and I'm not saying that in jest, but I mean, like, literally, I was like, okay, Kobe has the Black Mamba, right? Beyonce has Sasha Fierce, right? You have these people who their alter ego is like their true identity. Like Bruce Wayne isn't Batman. Batman's Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
And when I mean, look, dude, 7 years ago, I'm laying in bed. I just had this massive breakup, and the woman I was seeing, she was like, "You're broken." And dude, I'd been called that so many times in my life. And I was like, you know what? That's not who I am. That's not what I believe. That's not what I think. And it was like, boom, like a light bulb. I was like, oh my God, I know what I'm supposed to do with the rest of my life. It was like in that moment. And also, like, it's a branding play, just straight up, because if you go search Michael Anthony, you're going to find Van Halen, and I cannot compete with that SEO, bro.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, that's right.
So growing up, man, my childhood was insane. And I am an advocate for people who are in this healing journey. And that's because it's like, I don't know, dude, it's like, imagine if you actually had to suffer so you could change the world. And that's what my life is. And it's not that I chose it, because trust me, I would much rather not be having this conversation with you. Like, when I really like break it down and I think about the context of what led to this moment, it's like I would much rather have had literally any other childhood you can imagine. But I didn't get that. Right. So, and I always give please don't compare. You know, people always hear my story and they're like, oh my God, that dude's life was so bad. Like, and it's like, whatever, man, we didn't live the same lives. It's fine. Like, you know, when I was 4 years old, my mother, who was a drug addict and alcoholic, actually cut off my right index finger. right? So multiple surgeries, multiple skin grafts, you can see there, and that's hurt people. My mother was,
Mm.
and I'm not using this word loosely, fucking crazy. And so she was a drug addict, an alcoholic, a narcissist. She was bipolar, suicidal, manic depressive, diagnosed. I'm not like it's now like, oh my God, you're a narcissist because we don't agree. But like now, like for real, like in and out of rehabs, in and out of
Mm.
treatment facilities. She would disappear for weeks at a time, like just on these major benders. She married my stepdad when I was 6. And this guy was super abusive. Like, this dude's 6'4", 220, beating up a 7-year-old, like a real man, this guy, real man. And that's what I grew up in. And so I didn't know any different. And we were often homeless and deeply impoverished. I lived with over 30 different families between 8 to 12. And when I was 12, I got high for the first time. And dude, it was the greatest moment of my childhood
Wow. Because it
because
got you away.
for the first time in my life, it was like the stress and the pressure of the world went away.
Mm.
You know how people are like, they have this conversation when they do like heroin and crack and stuff like that. And they're like, I've always chased that first high. And that was true of weed for me. And I was
Mm.
like, next thing you know, I'm popping pills. We're smoking hash. I'm doing I'm doing all kinds of stuff. I'm 12. By the time I'm 13, I'm getting drunk all the time. And at 15, I got expelled from school for selling drugs. I got put into a last chance program. And by the time I was 18, I got kicked out of high school again. And dude, I had like straight Fs, a 1.2 GPA, missed 90 days of school. And, I'm sitting in summer school. All my friends have graduated. I got uninvited to every graduation party. Everyone stopped hanging out with me. Dude, I was the biggest loser in the whole school.
Mm.
And my summer school teacher is a business course, irony of all ironies. Um, he comes up to me and he goes, you know what? We're just going to give you the diploma. We're done with you. We'll let the streets figure you out.
Oh my God.
And I will remember I was sitting in my car because the day before I got fired from the warehouse job I was working at,
Mm.
putting microchips into motherboards. Like that was it. That was a job, 12 hours a day, and for some people that was the rest of their life. And for me, I was like, there's got to be something more. And so I'm just trying to figure out like what's next. And it just, Charles, it hit me one day. I was like, what's the solution for homelessness, for poverty, for abuse? I was like, it's money. It's got to be. Because if it's not money, I don't know what else it is. And so I said, by the time I'm 21, I want to make $100,000 a year legally, which was very important because
Mhm.
I've been in handcuffs more times than I can count. My 3 childhood best friends have been murdered. And I got like multiple family members who are in prison for life. Some of them been in there 25 years, right? And it's like, I knew the path I was taking. So I just started learning skills. Skills have utility. I became a manager of a fast food restaurant with 52 people under me when I was 18 and a half. By the time I'm 21, I landed a job with a Fortune 10 company. I made $1 million by the time I was 26. And what happened in that time frame is I had clarity about money, but nothing else. And so by the time I'm 26, I'm 350 pounds, smoking 2 packs a day, drinking myself to sleep, cheating on my girlfriend. I'm $50,000 in debt. Imagine that, living paycheck to paycheck, making $200,000 a year. And my little brother tells me one day, never talk to me again. You're not my brother. And so it's like my life had become everything everyone said it would be. Because when I was a kid, dude, my own mom and stepfather would be like, you're stupid, you're fat, you're lazy, you're dumb, you don't matter. And so I'm like, cool, money will solve that problem, right? Because I got all the girls, I got all the clothes. Like I'm rocking Sean John suits like they're handing them out, bro.
Like
I'm
you're
gonna age
Diddy. Like you're
myself.
Diddy. Like you're Diddy
Yeah,
himself.
I'll age myself a little bit, Closet full of J's, $80,000 Cadillac. I bought a Cadillac when I was 20 years old, right?
What?
And so it's like I'm looking at this life, And on paper, you're like, dude, this guy has the life. All the chicks, all the money, all the
Mm.
clothes, balling out of control. Dude, it was not uncommon for me to go out and spend $500 on dinner. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I wasn't taking care of you said people and community at the beginning of this. I did not help my brothers in any way. I did not help my community. And I was very self-serving. But it was also like, you don't know what you don't know. And survival for me as a kid was, I have to figure it out on my own.
Mm.
And in my 20s, I'm like, I figured it out on my own. But the downside of that is I destroyed everything else in the process. And so I find myself one day, I'm laying in bed. Again, I'm 350 pounds. You met me in person. I'm not 350
No, you're
pounds
not.
anymore.
No, fit.
And I'm sitting here smoking a joint, eating chocolate cake, and watching the freaking CrossFit games, man. And it's like, I was like, you're a loser. You are a loser. And I'm like, the only way it gets worse than this is if I just go kill somebody or myself, which I had already
Right.
attempted twice. And I pulled myself up out of the bed. I went in the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror and I asked myself a question. I was like, what are you willing to do to have the life that you want? And the answer was no excuses, just results. And that has been the moniker, the motto, the flag, the insignia for everything my life has been for the last 13 years.
Yeah. Michael, like, thank you, one, for sharing, like, all of that. Like, we talk about vulnerability so much on the show, and then particularly, and Michael is biracial, but as a man of color, the vulnerability is something that doesn't always permeate through our existence.
For sure.
And thinking about how you're telling this story, and I want folks to go to thinkunbroken.com and make sure that you understand more of his story. Even I always implore folks to make sure you can go out and get the book and read how these tips and strategies can help you move past some of the things that we're going to talk about today. But one thing that resonates with me, what you're saying, Michael, is one of our first tenets here at What's Your Revolution is revolt and evolve, right? If I ask you this question
Love
about
that.
what's your revolution, and you say, okay, my revolution is to, like, what did you say? Results, right?
No excuses, just results.
No excuses, just results. So at some point, my revolution is no excuses, just results. You have to revolt from something, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have to revolt from something to say, okay, how do I make sure that there are no excuses, only results? I have to revolt from behaviors. I have to revolt from saying, you know what, I can't do this, right? Or, you know what, this is someone else's fault, or I'm a victim. No. All of those things are saying I have to revolt from those things. And then I need to evolve into this person that says, I am going to go out and no matter what, there will be results. I can look back and say, I put the best effort in. I put the best foot forward. I put my best version of myself in. And so that is interesting, because if I think about encapsulating the entire story that you just told me, you could get lost in that. You could get lost in that, Michael. Like, but wait a minute. You were saying that you made $1 million at 26.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it almost sounds like the like this David Goggins story. Like, you know what I'm saying? It feels Goggin-esque.
Yeah.
And
well, we grew up like 25 minutes away from each other, so
it must be something in the water. It must be something in
crackheads.
something in the water. But the similarities between the two of you all is that at some point in time, there's this inner conversation that I cannot be this version of myself. And if you look back, it's so interesting to me, because I do it myself. The introspection is so key about our growth, is that there are past versions of yourself that you could say, I can look back. Wow, I'm not that version. Ooh, didn't like that version. Ooh, that version of me was horrible. But this is the version of me now. And I kind of like this person. I kind of love this person. I kind of want to be with this person, right? Because I can look back and say, you know what? I didn't really make great decisions then. Made some horrible choices there. Hurt a lot of people here, but I'm not that version of myself anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so important to revolution, you know, because what you said, and I'll stop because you excited me, is that you said at one point you weren't showing up for the community.
Mm-hmm.
And now Michael Unbroken, right, can show up for the community. And that's big.
I looked up the definition of the word revolution just now, just because I believe in understanding what words mean.
Yeah.
And most people don't. Most people use words and they have no idea what they mean.
Mm-hmm.
And revolution means a forcible overthrow for the replacement of a new system.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so if you look at this journey of life that we all are on independently and collectively, we're constantly in revolution and evolution. But the problem is most people are terrified to become the person that they are destined to be. More people, I believe this truly in my heart, more people are afraid of success than they are failure.
Yes.
Failing's very easy. Think about like where I grew up, right? So if you were one of the people who on the 1st and the 15th got a check in the mail through the government, if you're not familiar with the 1st and 15th, you were a winner. It was praised. It was admirable. You beat the system. You figured it out. You got 4 less hours a week at work, so now you get on the government tit. And it's like, cool. Is that really who you want to become?
Yeah.
And so when I saw that celebrated, I'll be honest with you, I thought it was disgusting as a kid. I felt shame about it. I felt guilt about it, predominantly, and I think for me, because my mom spent her money on drugs. My stepdad spent the money on alcohol, right? And so like when my mom overdosed multiple times, I'm the one calling the police because instead of buying food, she bought drugs. You know, we would have pantry food. I literally had to steal food from the Big Lots on the corner of 30th and Georgetown, right? There's so many times in my life where, you know, you get the little chicken sandwich in the foil bag at school and I'd put 3 of them in my pocket. You have no idea how many times I got caught doing that, right? Not paying for food. And they chastise children because they can't pay for food. I'm like, bitch, we don't even have electricity. Like literally we don't. We don't have electricity. We don't have, I had to steal water from our neighbors' houses, take these buckets and turn on the spigot on the side of their homes. And it's like you look at that and you go, cool. Is evolution to be on food stamps and welfare? For some people it is, and I will argue that those people are going to die never having lived. And life's not easy, dude. Like I'm never going to sit here and be like, oh, life is easy. I have forced an overthrowing of who I am to become who I am.
Yes.
I teach my clients this all the time. People are like, why can't I change? Because you're not making it happen.
Yeah,
like we live in a weird society of softness. This is where the Goggins references really come in, right? And I love the guy, right? But if you got to be honest with yourself, man. If you're fat, you're fat. If you're dumb, you're dumb. If you're bad with money, you're bad with money. If you're horrible husband, boyfriend, partner, business owner, be honest. There's 3 rules that I have with the people that I coach. They're right here in front of me. I read them every day. I remind every single person when we coach, when I'm on podcasts, when I'm in group coaching, when I'm whatever it is. There's 3 things if you really want your life to be different. It's very simple. This shit is not rocket science, Charles. You want a revolution, you must evolve. And you evolve first and foremost, most importantly, by being honest.
Yeah.
Why are you lying all the time? Well, actually, I'll tell you why. Because lying is a survival mechanism. Because when you were 6 and you went to school with the bruises, you had to lie. When you were 12 and you were stealing food and the teacher was like, why are you malnourished? You had to lie. When you were 16 and missing school every day because you're in the streets selling drugs so you can help your grandma pay the bills, you have to lie. And so that serves a purpose. And then you're 21, 36, 52. You're like a liar. But you don't know why you're a liar. Because you haven't really assessed the causation and correlation. Wow. And then you look at it and you go, I'm a liar because my brain recognized as an autonomic response to stressor that if I lie, I will be safe. Thus, I will lie because when I do that, I am safe. And then to tell the truth is the most fearful thing we can do because now it has become unknown. That stressor fires up the autonomic nervous system and says, no, dude, don't tell the truth. You're in trouble. You will die if you tell the truth. Dude, telling the truth in my home was the most dangerous thing I could do If I told the truth in my house, my stepdad would throw me through a fucking wall. And I literally mean that. And so step one, be honest. That's it. That's the hardest part of the whole game. Step two, you got to show up, man. Like, show up for your life. Stop blaming everybody. You want to be a victim? Respect. Respect. I'm not taking it away from you, dude. Like, life is hard, man. You want to get on the welfare, that you want to blame the world, you want to be the person, go ahead. But don't complain, because nobody gives a shit. And that's what people don't want to hear. And that's why I always get in trouble, because people are like, you're the trauma coach. How can you say that to people? I'm like, because you're being a victim. Nobody cares. And if you want to be a victim and be in that victimhood, you have to understand that you are going to die with regret. You will never be the person you're capable of being. You will never build the life you want to build. You will never connect to the communities you want to connect with. You will never have the health, wealth, relationships, and freedom that you seek. And on your deathbed, you will go, I knew this was going to happen. And then lastly, you got to execute. And I mean this literally. This is, again, revolution, a forcible overthrowing. You have to do things that you are terrified of doing so that you can build confidence in who you are. Because the reality is, becoming the person that you're capable of being, this person you believe that you can become, right, is only through the action that you take. You cannot wish or secret yourself into success. You cannot manifest or meditate yourself into success. Those things plant seeds. They create this idealization in your mind where it becomes a possibility, but it only comes to fruition through you showing up every day. And that part of showing up every day is the hardest thing that we do, because since it's an unknown, we want to revert back to our old behavior patterns of safety and security. And so this idea of like, I'm going to go here, I'll tell you a story. I'm 350 pounds, right? And I use weight because people really can understand and relate to this. And, oh, we lost you. Oops.
Keep going.
Yep, I gotcha. So I paused there so you guys can edit.
Gotcha. No.
So I use weight as this marker because people can relate to this, right? And so I'm 350 pounds, and in my head every day, this is the idea of why I believe that just the ideation doesn't work. It requires execution. I would put my bag in my car to go to the gym every night after work. I would drive to the gym. I would sit in the parking lot. In the parking lot was a bar and a McDonald's. I would smoke a cigarette, go to the bar, go to McDonald's, smoke a cigarette, get in my car, look at the gym, and say tomorrow. I was 350 pounds. Okay, cool. Why didn't it work? Why did me just dreaming I was going to be in shape and have a six-pack and go surf on the beaches of Indonesia, why did it not work? Because I wasn't doing anything. And so it's like, and especially you brought a very valid point up, like this idea of vulnerability in communities of color, especially with men. And I am biracial, but I grew up in the hood with crazy ass white grandma, right? And so like I've seen all sides of reality. And it's like when I lied, when I stuffed it down, when I hid the truth, when I didn't show up and I didn't execute, my life was a disaster. When I created a revolution and forcibly overthrew myself into the person that I wanted to become, I'm sitting here with you today. I am not, look, I hate when people are like, I'm special. No, you're not. You're just not. Like, there's a billion people in the world. If you want to be special and that's what you need to push through, respect. I'm not taking that from you. But reality, like, dude, you're just like me and like Charles and like everybody else. The difference between me and Charles and you is that we're willing to do the thing. We're willing to do the thing, despite the pain of the thing, despite the mindset shift required to become the thing. And it's like, you said I'm a award-winning, world-renowned speaker. Dude, thank you first and foremost. But 7 years ago at the first event, 2 people came. And then 5, and then 7, and then 7 years later, it's like I've spoken in front of 10,000 people.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And when I started the weight loss journey, it was like fucking 1 pound, and then 12, and then 25, and then a plateau, and then 50, and then 100 pounds later. And then it's like when I wrote the book, line by line, page by page, day by day for 2 years with 9 revisions. When I created the podcast, 5 years, 700 episodes, huge amount of effort and energy. And it's like, you think about, this is really interesting. And again, I believe this. People are scared of failure, but they're more afraid of success because they're afraid of success and failure in a public way. Because if you like look at people who like play video games, for instance, and look, I love video games. They're great. You will fail on a level 700 times, but it doesn't change your identity because there's nothing real on the line. But when it comes to this game called life, you're scared to fail once, and that's why you're trapped.
Yes, yes, yes to all of that. It is so interesting because I just got to go back to something that you said earlier on, is that the crux of lying to ourselves and the crux of lying to others, for some, is a mechanism of safety. And the first person that we have to be honest with is ourselves. That's a part of the revolution. And I love that you have woven in this forcible change. And I often say this radical shift, right? Because I know the textbook definition of revolution, but it is a forcible shift. It is a radical transformation in oneself to say, I don't want to be 350 pounds. I don't want to sit outside the gym and smoke a cigarette anymore. I actually want to go in and be honest with myself because I have to see myself for who I am. And that's the first part of the journey. And you said, stop being a victim. And it's interesting because at the recording of this, I talked to my childhood best friend. And honestly, with you, Michael, I need to say this short little drive time is that I've actually stopped calling people best friends. Because people come and go in our lives. And, they come and go in seasons, people for whatever. And so we become prioritized and we become deprioritized. And maybe that's just my story. But my childhood best friend has been around for 46 years, since we were 6 years old. Can you imagine that? Yeah, I'm dating myself as well. We met each other the first day of first grade. Hey, Quince, right? Actually, I've never said Quince's name on the show. Quince Griffin, Quince Delmar Griffin Jr., my childhood best friend who met the first day of first grade. I can tell you that he had on a Pittsburgh Steelers 3/4 shirt. And the teacher was like, Quince Griffin. And I just looked back and said, hey, Quince, that was the first day. Friends for life. But we were talking today about victimhood. We were talking about today, as you said, about this 100% responsibility. That whatever life is, we are responsible for this life. And that is the interesting thing that I love you say that we can't be a victim. We have to stay focused on the world is by me, not to me. And that is an interesting thing from someone who talks about his trauma, the trauma of his mother, the trauma of his stepfather, the trauma of the world in which he lived in. But then at some point, Michael, you had to say that this world is by me, not to me, and that I need to move into this space. And the last thing that you said is that, and this conversation is so ironic because my word of the year is execution. And it's so pivotal is that through all those things, being honest with ourselves, taking 100% responsibility, the next thing is that we have to execute on the things that we want to be. Wherever we want to go, the things that we want to do, we have to execute. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, look, and it's difficult. Like I cannot tell you how difficult it is because there's no words. It's almost impossible to be you. We got the pressures of society. We got social media. We have our friends, our community, the keeping up with the Joneses. We have the indoctrination, enmeshment, and grooming of childhood. Like, and then you got the school system where you're literally from the time you're a child, raise your hand to go to the bathroom, walk on the right side of the hall, eat lunch when we say, don't talk out of turn, be this or suffer. And so you're like, literally, I think school is the biggest scam in the world. That's why I didn't go. Because Charles, this is insane. I recognized this when I was 7 years old. I'll never forget this. I'm in first grade, second grade, whatever. And I have to go to the bathroom. And the teacher gives me punishment for getting up and going to the bathroom. And in that moment, I'll never forget, dude, it's like as clear as day to me. I was like, fuck this. And I revolted against school from childhood. And I will tell you, I am probably one of the most learned people that I know, where I read countless books. I'm always educating myself. I'm constantly putting myself in the right rooms. But it's like the difficulty of life is embedded in us from the time that we first really start to become humans, because we're told this is who you should be. Like, trauma is not, look, it is, but it isn't, right? This is my definition. Trauma is not these cuts and scars and burns and all the things that I went through physically. It's the theft of identity. And so you spend your entire childhood being told who you're supposed to be, never having the space allotted to you to be who you are. And so becoming who you are becomes the most impossible aspect of the journey until you recognize that you're allowed to be who you are. And people are not going to like you. And Charles, people don't like me. I don't care. People love me. I don't care. I don't care. Dude, I literally don't. And it's such a weird thing for people to comprehend, because it's like, what I've done is I've earned my love for me and the ability to go look at myself in the mirror. And just, I'm fine with who I am, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect. I'm fallible. I probably say fuck too often. I'm kind of an asshole sometimes. Like, that's who I am. And that's okay. And for some people, I got best friends. I have enemies. Not literal enemy. Well, maybe. You never know, really. But like,
you never know.
I think about it, and it's like, okay, cool. If you can get to the place where the most important opinion is yours, you win.
Yes.
And so now you're in this, you have this moral imperative and responsibility to become the greatest version that you're capable of being.
Yes.
Think about this for a second. Yes. We live on a planet that just so happens to be the correct amount of everything for human life to exist. It's improbable. It's impractical. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, we could be in a simulation. I have no idea. I don't even think we're real. You could be in a bro,
red pill, blue pill.
Bro, you could be beyond the matrix. You could be in a coma right now, pretending all this is happening. There's no proof. And when you die, you don't know what's going to happen then either. So it's like, you might as well go for it, because guess what? You're going to die anyway. And so if you're like, man, I really, I keep having these horrible relationships with women. Why don't you deal with it? My kids won't talk to me. Why don't you deal with it? I'm overweight. Why don't you deal with it? I want to go build my own business because I can do this job better than the person who's paying me $70,000 a year. Go do it. Stop being a fucking coward. Like, stop it. Because if you don't, I swear to you, I'm telling you, you keep being a coward, you keep being a victim. On your deathbed, you will die, and the last words out of your mouth are going to be regret. And then it's like, what was the point of all this? I don't even know what the point of it is now. And I'll be honest with you, Charles, I'm a nihilist. I don't believe that anything that we do matters in the long run, right? We all turn to dust. Like, bro, serious question. Name your great-great-grandpa.
Charles S. Corprew. No, that Charles. Wow, my great-great-grandpa.
Your great-great-grandpa. 100 years ago, grandpa. Exactly.
I don't know.
Nobody does. And so we're sitting here. I was like, shit, Charles is going to be the first one to ever know this.
Like, wait a minute. No, I know who my grandfather is.
But name your grandpa's grandpa. And people are always talking about legacy. It's like, bro, legacy is not real. In 100 years, no one remembers you. You get a couple outliers. You get a Napoleon Hill. You get a Jesus. Okay, fine. We understand that. A Mother Teresa. Even in 50 years, nobody's going to know who Mother Teresa is, right? And so it's like, okay, cool. Can you hold in your hand two competing understandings of the universe? One, nothing actually matters. And two, every single thing that you do right now is the most important thing you will ever do.
Yeah. That is an interesting tension. That is an interesting tension and a conversation that we have never had on this show. That, one, our impact in the world is right now.
Yes.
It is right now. And the things that we do, we hope that someone 100 years from now is going to say, to be able to pull back and look at the Think Unbroken podcast or look at the What's Your Revolution podcast and say, oh, wow, these two men were amazing. But we hope, we don't really know, right? Because I haven't listened to the 2017 episode, the first episode. I'd listened to the last 5 episodes of this. I don't know. That's an interesting question that I will have to think about. Like, that is a wonderful spark. So if we're thinking about revolution, like, we've got to make sure that we're executing now, like right now, that the impact is right now. Like, you cannot wait. And that's why I love what you said, is that execution begins right now. Stop waiting. Stop waiting. Kobe didn't get on that chopper that morning thinking that something tragic was going to happen.
Yeah. No, of course not. And Kobe is the background of my phone, actually. I've never felt lost when a stranger died, but man, that one hit me because I was like, you talk about the embodiment of a human being going out there and just trying.
Just trying.
Just trying, man.
Just trying. And that's the thing. You've talked about failure, right? Our fear of failure. And one of the analogies that comes up so much is that babies fail every day. You fail till you learn how to walk.
Yeah.
Right? You fail until you learn how to run. You fail until you learn how to run faster. You fail all of the things. I failed so much playing this new sport that is America's fastest growing sport. But I got a little bit better. I'm not gonna give it credence here. Yes, pickleball. I said pickleball.
We know what it is, bro.
Yeah, but failure is a part of it. But the question that I've learned to ask myself, Michael, and I'm sure that you ask yourself, is, what did I learn in this failure? And that has been, again, red pill moments, right? Red pill moments in my life. What's my 100% responsibility? And hopefully I'm going to take a proactive approach to this, like to take my 100% responsibility before. But the other thing is...
2 questions, Charles.
Go ahead.
I go, what did I learn from this? And then I go, in the scheme of things, does the failure actually move me towards my goal?
Wow.
It's like, because it's like, and I'll drop sports analogies because I think they're easy for people to understand, but everybody knows MJ not making the middle school or freshman basketball team, whatever, to become the greatest NBA player of all time. MJ's better than Kobe and LeBron, guys. Just shut up, please. All right, let's move forward. And so you look at it and it's like, okay, cool. Did that failure move him towards his goal? Yes, because he's like, I want to be on this team. The universe smacked him in the face. You're not good enough yet. Dude, do you know how often people don't leverage the word yet? It's like, of course you don't have a good podcast yet. You did 1 episode, bro. Your relationship isn't substantial yet. You've been on 1 date. And it's like, this is a numbers game. And they exponentially compound. Everything that you do, the reciprocation of that reverberates in a way you can't even understand in 18 years. And it's like, I can track back all of the moments of my life that have led down to where I am, to the effort of just the one decision. When I was 26 and I had this rock bottom moment, and I was working for this Fortune 10 company. Mind you, they literally just gave me my high school diploma. It's not even real. I do not have a college degree. I'm sitting at my house and I call you talking about best friends. I call my best friend at the time. He's no longer my best friend. I call him and I go, I'm going to quit my job tomorrow. You know what he tells me, Charles? He goes, that's insane. Do not do that. You will never have success like this again. We're not best friends. If you don't believe in me, I can't fuck with you. And I literally, the next day I walked in the office and I went to the VP and I go, I'm done, dude. And he goes, we'll give you another 20 grand a year to stay. And that was just base. That wasn't even commission or the points on the residuals and all the other things that came with it. And I looked at him, I go, dude, you couldn't give me $1 million.
Wow.
Because I was suffering. I hated my life. Yeah. I hated my job. I hated myself, my relationship, my friendships. Go look at the sum total of your friends, right? You will look at your life.
Yeah, we say
My
that.
friends
We
were
say that.
overweight, smoked cigarettes, and ate like crap every day. I did the math once. I sat and I looked at how much time I'd spent accumulatively watching football. This will blow your mind, dude. If you add up Monday night, Thursday night, Saturday, all day Sunday, I put together the math. When I was 27 years old, I did this. So the last time I watched a football game, I was 27 years old, because I realized I had spent an accumulation of 3.5 years of my life watching football.
Wow.
You love football? Go get a calculator. Let's see if you love football after. And I'm not saying you shouldn't like have your thing and love your thing, because I love martial arts and every Saturday night I watch fighting, right? But what I am saying is, like, if your life is shit, bro, if you hate your life and you're overweight and you're making $38,000 a year and you're an average man, why are you watching football?
There's a revolution out there for you.
Bro, it's always here. It's all in front of you. And it's like, are you willing to suffer? Look, here's the reality, Charles. It all comes down to this. Like, are you willing to suffer? If you look up the word suffer, the definition is to be in discomfort. Are you willing to be in discomfort on a long enough timeline to become the person you're capable of doing?
Yes.
Because that's what it comes down to. We seek pleasure and comfort. We live in the easiest time in the history of the world. People are softer than they've ever been. We're woke, we're lit, we're gaslighting each other, we're all the things. But it's like, dude, at the end of the day, none of it actually matters. The next fad will come in, the next opinion will come in, the next thing that'll get you canceled will come in. The evolution will continue until you revolt.
Yeah. Yes. Michael, this is amazing to think about this, right? Because I think about revolution. If you look at our logo, it's not a full revolution. It's not a full circle. The revolution ends, right? It starts and then it ends. And we did that deliberately because revolutions you have to evolve, you have to revolt, and you have to revolve, and you gotta come to some point, because there is another revolution coming. There's another shift. There's that, because that space, right? That space between the end of one revolution and the begin, something has to be a catalyst. And it is that discomfort. It, like you said, it is that space. How long can you sit in it to say, you know what? Shit. It's hard. And the only way that I'm going to endure this struggle is that I have to revolt from something that is making this a struggle. I have to learn something from this. I can't sit in the warmth of that shower all the time. I talk about the warmth of warm waters. Like, it feels good. Yeah. It feels good. Oh my God. I love Colombia or Cartagena or the warm waters, the warm summer waters, because it feels good. And because there's struggle in winter. There's struggle in cold. Our body's not used to it, but there is growth and gain. And at the recording of this show, I'm going through a struggle. I'm losing, and it is uncomfortable. I'm losing people, and it is uncomfortable. But what am I learning about myself that is going to allow me to show up better and greater the next time? That's it. That's the revolution.
And I think that a big part of it too is, like, you have to have, and this is the word that I haven't used yet, is you have to have grace for yourself in this, because you don't know what you don't know. And you're going to be really bad at who you are becoming until you become that. And then you'll realize that there's a next level. And then you'll be really bad at that until you're not. Yeah. And then there's a next level, and so on and so forth until you're dead. And it's like, can you have some grace for yourself? Because people are so mean to them, especially men, dude. We're so mean to ourselves. This weird reinforcement of society that says, be emotional. And then you're emotional and you get destroyed for it. And so it's like, how do you navigate that, right? And it's like, well, you deploy some grace.
You just don't care.
You deploy some grace for yourself, knowing that, like, you're fallible, you're not perfect. Sometimes you're an asshole. Great, cool. Acknowledge it and sit in it. And the grace part, people will give them. Yeah, dude, I'm wrong constantly, but I'm right a lot too. And so it's like, all right, can I give myself grace in
Yeah.
all of the things? The ego has a need to be right, to be offended, to be annoyed, to be whatever it is that the ego needs in that moment. And it's like, just give yourself some grace because you're a human having a human experience and you don't know what you're
Yeah.
doing. And if you can do that, what really starts to transpire is this life creation becomes fruition of the idealization of the person that you thought you could be. Because
Yeah.
if you have grace, then the first time you fail, you won't quit. And that's the thing that people need to leverage and hold on to. Because, like, between grace and kindness for yourself, that's how you actually really create that pendulum swing to close that gap to really become who you
Yeah.
are. And
Yes.
most people, dude, Charles, most people are being so mean to themselves right now. It's like,
Mm.
how do you expect to be successful? Because if you said to me the words that you use about yourself in your head to my face, I would beat the shit out of you. And it's like, okay,
Because
how are you going to be successful when you're your own worst enemy?
yeah.
Grace,
To think about that,
kindness.
grace and kindness to yourself. Look, brother, this has been one of the most profound conversations that I've had in a long time. And I have we have great, amazing guests. And I want to thank all of my guests who pour into this show. And what we just got in this, I mean, this is something that we will play time and time again. Thinking about what does, and we didn't even get to this. Right? How do we turn the trauma that we've had into the triumph, right? Into the triumph as you talk about. So I'm going to push everybody to michaelunbroken.com so you can understand his story and so much, and how all of the products and services and the coaching that he offers, and how you can turn your trauma into triumph. Please go. But I want, like, I got to ask you this question because I didn't ask you the question. What's your revolution?
This, everything we just talked about. That's it, man. Why all the suffering if not for something great? You know? And it's like, I'll give you, I know we're out of time, but I want to say this real quick. So
Go ahead.
next week I'm getting on a plane and I'm flying to the city I grew up in, and I'm watching my brother graduate the police academy.
Oh, amazing.
And I spend time with my other brother driving across the country, the same one who told me never talk to me again. And I see the success that my sister has. I watch the successes of thousands of clients that I've coached. I've seen millions of downloads on my podcast and having a #1 best-selling book and speaking on the biggest stages. And it's like, you already suffered, bro. You might as well get paid for it.
Yeah, this is the work. This is the revolution. This is why we do what we do. And this is why we have the ability to come together, two like minds, two revolutionaries who are moving their revolutions out to the world to impact right now. And in hopes that someone 100 years from now, like, what is this podcast thing? Like, oh, let me listen to this. Think Unbroken. What's your revolution? And something, hoping, and maybe they do, or maybe they don't, right? But the thing is that right now is that we have the opportunity to be impactful on people's lives, to tell our stories, to tell other folks' stories in hopes that they figure out what it's like to fail and have grace and be kind to themselves and move in the direction of the person that they want to be, to stop being afraid of failure, to stop being afraid of saying the thing, to stop being afraid of showing up for themselves and others.
Truth.
Revolutionaries, you know that sometimes these shows will take you, they will knock you down. This is one of those shows. It will knock you down, but I promise you, as you're getting up, you will be better. And that's what I want. I want you to always be able to answer what we think is the most thought-provoking question of your life. What's your revolution? We'll see you soon, and know that I love you, and that we are here for you. We'll talk to you soon. Peace, everyone.